Wait.
Wait.
I just said I'm intro 1.
I'm intro 1?
No, I'm intro 1.
Okay.
Two, because then you go
Jesus.
into the... Let's see, how many times have we done this already?
Okay.
All right.
Intro music.
Hello, we're your sensational hosts, Drusilla and Gilsey.
Hi.
Welcome to Moon Moment, the podcast where we discuss the Sailormoon canon for what we affectionately call, you guessed it, Moon Moments.
Moments that we feel exemplify what Sailormoon stands for and represents. Now, without further ado, let's jump right in. So today we're discussing episodes 55 through 59. And by now, Ami and Mako are suspicious of the too coincidental timing of the appearance of the Moonlight Knight and the two new exchange students. Could it be that Seijiro is actually the Moonlight Knight? Listeners, we both know that isn't the case, but our girls don't. Mako volunteers to investigate and in the process ends up teaching Seijiro, aka Mr. Alien himself, about love and the power of a good homemade lunch. Talk about reaching for the heart through the stomach, am I right? The gang is also determined to help out Mamoru when his friends bail on his play. In the name of the moon, lights, camera, and action! Natsumi is Snow White, and the girls are a little less than thrilled about the lead role taken by her. But that isn't going to stop the battle for Mamoru between Usagi and Natsumi. When both are forced to stay after class to solve homework problems, it's a battle to see who can finish first. And the prize? Dibs on Mamoru. Oh boy. But things are starting to unravel for our fave alien duo when the cardigan stops following orders, and the Makai tree starts to shrivel. Could love be the answer to all our problems? Our hearts are aching at the farewell, but some new evil siblings have come to quickly take Ale and An's place. Enter the Spectre sisters, and... oh, hold on, wait a minute. Who let this pink-haired child in? And, alright, who told her about the silver crystal? Find out what happens next. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow Moon Moment Podcast.
So, I was going to end your description with, I wanted to ask you what your overall thoughts of this arc was, but, our episodes 55 to 59 did not include the introduction of Chibiusa.
What? I thought it did.
59 was the final episode where they see off on an ale and they go up into the sky, and it ends with the scouts teasing Usagi and Mamoru.
Did I skip an episode?
Did you skip it?
I'm about to look right now. Oh, I did. I went too far. I watched an extra episode. Okay.
Well, that's fine. It's just, if you had skipped one, we would have had a problem. So now you only have to watch 3 for our next episode.
So should I just read it again, but cut?
No, we're keeping all of... I'm going to cut a little bit, but we're keeping all of that in. Okay, to go back to my initial question... So, with this group of episodes, podcast listeners, we have completed the Makai Tree arc, or the Doom Tree arc, if you're a Deep Dip fan. I want to ask Gilsey, since this is a very short arc, and because it is so unique in some ways, what were your thoughts on the whole about this arc?
Well, through this rewatch, after you said that it was something that wasn't in the manga and that was just in the animated series, it kind of made me more aware of its place in the Sailormoon arc. And so I guess as I was watching this, it really drove in that message of how strong the power of love can be. And especially these last few episodes, it was more in teaching about love to, I guess, quote-unquote, more corrupted evil villains. And by the end of it, the two aliens that didn't really grow up with love have now learned love and are able to basically use that power of love into their energy source for this Makai tree. So it felt more a teachable lesson than part of the storyline. I don't know, how did you think it fit in? Because with me, it still felt like an AU. It felt like it was in the universe, it fit in the universe, but chronologically speaking, it still felt out of place.
I'm not sure if I could say to how it fits in. I do like this arc a lot because the villains are so unique. Because every other villain we get in the series, pretty much, is very, I don't know if off-screen is the right way to put it, but it is very clear that they have an evil space that they stay in. And then they come out of that evil space to terrorize Tokyo and to try to defeat the Scouts, and that's it. I really like this arc because An and Ale go to school, they pretend to be human, they interact with the girls, and on top of that, we also see them learning. You know, how come I've never felt this way before? Like, I feel kind of warm when she's asking how I am, that sort of thing. And I wouldn't say it's necessary. I think it's out of place in the sense that we don't really see this. I don't think it's necessarily out of place in the Sailor Moon mythos. Maybe not mythos. Mythos is the wrong word, but in the essence of Sailor Moon, I don't think it's out of place. I think it fits.
I was just saying, like, it felt out of place because there was, I don't know, I think it was because we were able to kind of get to know the villains a little more, because in previous villains like Jadeite and Nephrite, we get a little bit of that romance, I guess you could call, we quote unquote romance between with Naru, but we never really got to live a day-to-day with these villains. And it was really nice to have them go to school with us, and we kind of get to see their apartment after they invite Usagi and the girls in. And it was nice, and I really liked it, but it just felt out of place just because we were able to see more of the villains in their civilian form. Maybe out of place is a wrong, wordage for that, but...
I do think this... I don't want to use the word cleansing, but this sort of...
cultural reset.
Yeah. And I don't want to say turning On and Ale good, because they were never... they did bad things, but they weren't really evil. But we do see this bringing bad guys over to the light side. We see it again in Sailor Moon. This season, I don't want to spoil anything. There's some bad guys that get brought over. And obviously in season 3, Sailor Moon protects Hataru. But definitely in season 5, that is the whole thing. She refuses to give up until this villain basically calm down and come over to the light side again. So I think in terms of that, it's something we see a lot of. But I do agree with you. We don't really see much of the villains infiltrating the girls' lives in some way. And it's also interesting because it always seemed very sinister with Nephrite. But with An and Ale, it doesn't seem that way. It just seems like they're trying to go under the radar. And I'm also a sucker for the redeemed villain trope.
Same.
There have been so many shows that I've watched solely because of that. My Little Pony. It's what's probably going to draw me to eventually watch She-Ra.
Gonna say Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. Oh gosh. That was maybe one of the greatest villain redemption arcs ever. Regina.
Oh my god, yes, Regina. Oh, that was such a good redemption arc. Yeah. Anyway, back to the podcast.
Yeah.
Kind of also reminded me of, I've said it before, but Megamind with the whole villain turned lovable anti-hero kind of thing. Because Ale and I started to get pretty fond of them as I watched these episodes, because I was like, oh my gosh, they really just don't understand what love is, and the reason why they're so hyper focused on getting Mamoru and Usagi to love them back and take their love was because they don't know how to just give love and receive love. And that whole episode where Mako and Ale, Seijiro, were talking about love, and how Mako was trying to explain to him that, making these bento boxes is a sign of showing love. And he was just, but I don't understand. What does that mean? I was just like, let me hold you. Oh, you're so cute.
I know you're desperately trying to move us into the episode, but I think that's another way this arc is sort of unique, because there is this through line of them thinking that love needs to be stolen.
Yeah.
That in order to have love, you have to steal it. And trying to understand what love is exactly. How can there be different kinds of love? Isn't love just one thing? That was something I really liked, especially in the last handful of episodes of the arc. This question comes up more. And them questioning the other characters that bring it up to them, and questioning each other and trying to figure this out themselves. And there isn't this through line in any other season, I don't think.
Yeah, and it was nice to see that, like, they actually kind of did become friends with Seijiro and Natsumi, because they went to go check up on them, and they were all, oh, but they've been alone for so long, they're always alone, maybe we can try to be friends with them. It's just so cute.
So I think a lot of what we're saying is going to pop up in these episodes particular. Now I'm going to push us toward the episodes. So the first episode is actually Mako's power-up episode. Not the one with her friend being hurt and she has to then protect her other friends. It kind of blew my mind, because in our last episode we were complaining about her power-up episode sucks. Turns out that wasn't her power-up episode. But now it just makes it worse for Ami's power-up episode.
It was so short. I still can't forgive them.
I still think the other episode with her friend is a better power-up episode.
Yeah.
Because she spends her time in this episode talking to Seijiro. And that's pretty much it. I feel like there's not a lot of stakes.
No, there aren't.
She doesn't really have any stakes in those conversations. Not really. Same thing, like, Ami didn't have any stakes in her episode.
Yeah.
Minako did. And Rei did in their episodes.
Yeah.
And Usagi did, obviously. But, yeah, that seemed like a much better episode for Mako's power-up than this episode. But I think they do have an interesting conversation about what is love. Baby, don't hurt me. I'm sorry.
my thought was the Twice song, What is Love? K-pop fans, are you out there?
And I think it's interesting that we see, if you look at this episode closely, you do see different kinds of love. Because at the very beginning, there's Luna, who's trying to give Usagi her lunch. Usagi tries to find her friends because she knows that they will give her food. And she's right, like, they would have, so there's that love. And then there's all of the girls who are gaga over Seijiro. So there's that kind of love. But then you also have An, who is there in the background and is jealous. And so there's that, what everyone perceives as like a brother-sister love, when in reality is more romantic love. And so I think there are different loves sprinkled throughout this episode. And, you know, Naru and Umino is on their,
like, blossoming
on
first love
here. Yeah, and it's so strange because when they're first introduced in this episode, it feels like Naru isn't really down for this. It's like, oh no, he's
Yeah.
doing this again. Like, I have to, like, ugh. But then later, when they're sharing lunches, she's blushing and everything.
Yeah.
So, still on that, like, fence, I think.
Are they dating, or, like, are they together, or is it...
I don't know.
I'm so...
That's the thing. But I did not have any moon moments for this episode. Let's talk about why we're recording this podcast.
Yeah, I didn't have any moon moments for this episode. I just thought this entirety of this episode was very adorable. And I just loved the end of it when Ale was like, oh, I'm going to make a lunch and show On my love. And he just made this plethora of very questionable edible things, and On was just like, what do I do with this? And neither of them knew what to do.
Yeah, which I thought was another way they were endeared to the audience, because they just did something that they don't quite understand the cultural significance, but he knows that people do this when they love each other. So here you go. I love you.
It was so cute.
So do you want the really sad thing first?
Yes, tell me the sad thing so I can look forward to being happy later.
So the sad thing is, in this episode, Mako says that her dream is to own a restaurant so she can cook for people. This is incredibly sad because it will never happen. As we've seen, when Usagi is, 22, 23, she becomes Queen of Tokyo. And the girls no longer have civilian identities. Or, I guess maybe they could have civilian identities, but they are in Sailor Scout form, all the time. And so Mako, unless she has this side gig, she will never be a cook for all these people. Just like how we'll see down the road, Minako really wants to be an idol. That's never going to happen. Not because she doesn't have the talent or the drive, she's just not going to be able to. Duty will take precedent. And we'll see, there's an episode with Ami that is truly tragic. It brings this to, like dreams we'll talk about duty. It more when we get there. Yeah, dreams versus
I think
duty.
I know what episode you're talking about, too.
Yeah, so that's the sad thing. At the very beginning, when Mako and Ami are talking, two kids run by. The little girl has this little Sailormoon doll on her bag.
Oh, that's cool.
And it made me think, who is merchandising the Scouts? Yeah. And Tuxedo Mask. Who even knows Tuxedo Mask is real? Because he's never there with the other Scout. I feel like it's probably so rare that he actually, that the victims of, a Dark Kingdom plot or whatever would also see Tuxedo Mask there. But apparently they know.
Well, they would have to, right? Because there's a play.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah. That's getting very meta with it. Not only that, Jedi is in that.
How do they know that? What?
He was. I mean, we're skipping her. He did show up in the sky across Tokyo.
Oh, that's right. But that was one time for the public of Tokyo. It would make more sense for them to make monsters out of them, because at least then people were consciously awake for it. But
finally, I have a theory on Mako's boyfriends.
Oh?
I don't know if this is ever said in the manga or anime or whatever, but I have a theory. It's also possible I heard this theory somewhere else and I've made it into my own, so I apologize, nameless internet person, if I have stolen your theory. But when Mako says he reminds me of my old boyfriend, I don't think Mako has had dozens of old boyfriends. I think she only had the one that broke her heart. And when she sees a guy, something about him reminds her of her old boyfriend. So that's why she brings it up. Because the manga does say that a boy broke her heart very badly. And so she changed schools to avoid it. But it was also, she felt like something was calling to her. And then she meets Usagi and the girls. Maybe this is common knowledge, and I've just somehow missed this Moony knowledge. But I don't think Jupiter has had a bunch of boyfriends. I think she had one boy who broke her heart, and now she still sees him in this boy's hair, or this boy's eyes, or his voice, or the way this one dances.
Dang. Mm-hmm. Now you've got me reminiscing about all my past loves, which is not a lot, but, you know.
Mm-hmm. We spent way too long on this episode. We can move on.
The Snow White play?
Yes.
Yes.
The Snow White play. Which is where my moon moment was.
Oh, hey! This is where my mini moment was.
Okay.
Start out with your moon moment.
Alright, my moon moment is when Usagi is yelling at the girls and saying, if you knew she cheated, why didn't you say anything?
That's mine!
And the girls say, well, because Natsumi always seems so lonely, doesn't seem like she has many friends, and if she wanted it this badly, then why not give it to her? And their note about, besides, if one of us had gotten it, it would have created a lot of ill will.
Tension, yeah.
Between them. So that was my moon moment, because I thought it was great that the girls, and it wasn't just one of the girls, it was, not counting Usagi, who's a bit of a dunce. It was for, I guess Usagi does eventually come around to it. I mean, she's still mad that she cheated, but she does sort of come around to, like, okay, fine. If she wants it, she can have it. Mm-hmm. But I just thought it was a nice thing, because you never know how people are doing. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's something in that person's life that is compelling them to cheat so they can get this part, or something like that, or cheating on a test, or it doesn't have to be cheating, but you never really know what drives a person. And I thought it was awesome that the girls recognized that Natsumi doesn't seem like she has many friends.
Yeah, and I loved how they followed her to the shrine and were just kind of like, oh, like, why is she here? She's always alone. And they, like, hear her wish to have the play go really well. And they're like, oh my gosh, she really really wants this. And it kind of just solidified their decision to let Natsumi have that part, because again, they've noticed that she doesn't have a lot of friends, that she's always alone, especially during school. And I think this instance also drives Usagi to check up on Natsumi and Seijiro when they were absent from school. I think this might have been like one of the catalysts for Usagi to drop by.
This episode is also fun in other ways. Again, this whole thing of, what is Mamoru's life like? I know that he didn't plan. He somehow got stuck with it. But again, right. He's just going along with it. I mean, I like this episode a lot because it shows the girls being compassionate, which is obviously a necessary factor for a moon moment. And the fact that also Usagi comes around to it. And again, it's one of those sort of unique things where Natsumi is the bad guy. And yet she's so upset when Ale crashes the party, so to speak.
Yeah, I get that, why she was so upset. I mean, I feel like the whole reason wasn't just to steal a kiss from Mamoru. I think it was also because she worked so hard in order to make this play a success. And I think in the end, she had invested so much time and effort into it. It was a shame that the play didn't go the way that it was supposed to because of all of her hard work and the girls' hard work.
Though I have to say, I'm kind of on board with Shingo. If I paid to see a play of Snow White but ended up getting a Sailor Moon stage show, I'd be all over that, man. Which, that's how this really came across when the girls were all introducing themselves. I got Sailor Moon, like, musical vibes, Sailor Moon, like, stage show vibes from it. Even though Ami completely spills her secret identity.
Oh, yeah.
I ranked number 1 on the national test.
I wonder if this is where the idea for the Sailor Moon stage play that we see later on in the episodes comes from. But yeah, moon moment. I agree.
Alright. Well, you had it as a mini moon
Yeah.
moment, so why did you think it wasn't a moon moment?
Because, okay, so when I was first watching it, I was kind of waffling between moon moment and mini moon moment. Because, yes, they realized that Natsumi wanted this part, and they acknowledged that she does deserve this, maybe she does deserve this. But I guess it was just that little bit of resistance with Usagi. And I think I was like, maybe mini moon moment, because not all of the girls are on board. But she does come around, so I guess I should have taken that into factor as well.
And the fact that none of the audience realizes what's going on is kind of funny. Though this episode does do the audience dirty in a way, because they talk about how the girls are being fairies. So I don't know if this is a weird translation thing where the word, for some reason, the English is being translated as fairy instead of dwarf. Because they're both sort of considered fake creatures.
Right.
But as I was listening to it, it's like, I want to see the girls in fairy outfits.
Right.
Like, we're robbed of Mako creating fairy outfits for each of the girls. And they just wear the
like animal,
like mascot costumes. And the Deke version does have a great Mako line where she says, "Me playing a dwarf, 5'7" Mako." Or, I can't remember exactly how tall she is, but what else? Okay, so next episode is the after school detention episode,
right,
where Miss Haruna forgets that she has students in detention. And there were a lot of things I liked about this episode. I did not have a moon moment.
No.
Or a mini moon moment. However, maybe we should give an honorary moon moment to Usagi in particular. Because when the show starts, first of all, it's one of those rare episodes that breaks formula. And they're actually defeating a monster when the episode starts. But they defeat the monster, and as they're doing that, the sun is rising. And I'm thinking, maybe we should give Usagi a mini moon moment, because she somehow pulled herself out of bed before dawn to fight a monster.
Oh my god, yeah.
And now I want to see that episode. Like, I like that we are reminded that things happen, and so it's entirely possible that the girls, fought more Cardians or more monsters sent by the generals than we saw. But at the same time, I really want to see the events that led up to them defeating this monster at sunrise. Who discovered it? Who made the call? Who went to Usagi's house to make sure to drag her out of bed? Like, this is what I need to know. But this episode is also fascinating because I know technically we don't have a moon moment, and so we should move on. But the Cardian completely ignores Ael's commands. And this is where I started to think that this, combined with what happens in the next couple episodes, I think somehow maybe the Makai tree can sort of see what the Cardians see. And we do get sort of a confirmation that whatever is causing the Cardian to disobey, it is the Makai tree. Because there's this shot once he summons the Cardian of the Makai tree, and it obviously there's no dialogue or anything like that, but I think the Makai tree took over the Cardian and was sort of forcefully guiding it to Usagi, because the Makai tree, has seen through these Cardians' eyes and knows that Sailormoon is sort of the power of love, which is exactly what she needs to survive. And so I think she is trying to force the Cardian there as best she can, maybe to kidnap Usagi, maybe to take her energy, I don't know. But that is my theory as to why this Cardian misbehaved.
Misbehaved.
Yeah, that's right.
Misbehaved.
Misbehaved. Okay. Misbehaved the way it did. I thought that sounded weird. So that's my theory
Interesting.
for this episode.
I will give a shout out to Usagi during this episode because she does offer to help Natsumi with her school problems. She doesn't have to, and Usagi is Usagi, and school is not her number one best fun thing to do. But I thought it was cute, and it was Usagi kind of warming up to Natsumi. I mean, I didn't really think of it as a moon moment or a mini moon moment. I just thought, oh, this is nice, and I feel like this just adds more to the whole they're slowly becoming friends and kind of connecting the evil villains to the audience's more empathy towards these evil villains.
Yeah, I don't think you get the next 2 episodes without this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Usagi would have not cared, that's not the right word, but it would not have been in Usagi's mind to go check up on Natsumi and her brother if it wasn't for this episode. Mm-hmm. However, Natsumi straight up says, I'm going to take Usagi's energy and kill her, and then I take Mamoru. It's like, whoa! Which would have been not her killing Usagi, but how... Okay, let's play this out. If she managed to succeed, if she sucked Usagi dry and killed her, I'm curious as to would she have just left and said, oh, well, I left. I don't know what happened to her. She was still working. And think about it. Haruna is probably going to get fired. Maybe arrested because of negligence. And obviously, we have no Moon Princess anymore. So things are a bit rough for the Scouts and the Earth as a whole. It comes at you sort of weird, sudden, because you have seen throughout this arc that we're just going to take your energy. It's not going to kill you unless we want it to. And so I think that also adds a little bit into not the anti-hero pile, because they're not really anti-heroes, but it gives you more evidence for, they could just be killing people from the beginning.
Right.
Just taking their energy and killing them, but they're not. They're just taking it enough to where maybe a few days hospitalized, and that's it. So they're not as bad as they could be. Yeah, I guess. What was with the girls not sitting together in the movie theater?
Oh yeah, that was weird. I was like, why? Why
is sitting in front of everyone else?
I wonder if maybe it was because it was a super packed movie theater and super popular that those were the only 3 seats kind of together.
But it looked like there were empty seats.
That's
maybe I'm just misremembering. So maybe the girls are looking for seats and like, oh, there's seats together, and so they scoot, but then Ray just walks in front of them. And maybe she's like, I don't like sitting with people when I watch the movie. Like, you hog the armrests. And
maybe she's just, the better view is down here, and I'm right, so I'm just gonna sit in the better view. Oh, and we also get a reference to Alan, which I was surprised with because we completely forgot about Alan until Minako is, oh, wait, that actor kind of looks like Alan. Hey.
And it totally comes out of nowhere. And we're referring to, the actor on the screen of the fake movie that the Scouts are watching, not Deke Dumb Alan.
Right.
That just, it's so random. And why is that here? I think it's interesting. I love the callback.
Right, same.
Even though we hated that episode. But it's sort of...
I was like, is this a setup for something else? But he never comes back, does he?
I don't think so.
Or at least not in the near future.
If he comes back at all, it would be in this season, and I don't think he does. Because we don't even really see him in last season. There he was that one episode.
Yeah.
And he was barely in that episode.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's one thing I like better in the Deke version than in the sub. And that's when Sailormoon is transformed, she goes to use the cutie moon rod, and she's like, whoa, I'm really tired. And in the Japanese version, she says something like, maybe I should have ate more, or maybe I should have taken a nap. Or she says something like that. And the girls kind of yell at her, and the Moonlight Knight says something. I don't remember. But in the Deke version, the Moonlight Knight actually says, Sailor Scout, Sailor Moon had her energy sucked.
Oh.
that's why she's feeling that way. And my first thought was, how does he know this? Second of all, I don't know why he wouldn't know this, actually, since we learn he is this sort of like a ghost or like a spirit. Or actually, I have a theory. I have some stuff to talk about when we get there, eventually. Sorry, listeners.
Headcanon.
But that was the one thing in the deep dub that I liked better than the sub. I liked that he called it out, because in the sub, it's just, there's a reason why Usagi is feeling this way. And it's not because she's a flake or
like lazy or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. There's a legitimate reason. One of the few times the Moonlight Knight is actually useful.
I did try doing a poll on Twitter on who was more useless, and we got more votes for Moonlight Knight.
I didn't know you did that poll. I would have voted, but by the time I saw it, the poll was closed. I would have voted for Tuxedo Common. I think he's more useless than the Moonlight Knight.
But yeah, I posted that poll after our last episode discussion because I was just so frustrated with the Moonlight Knight. Moonlight Knight got more votes, surprisingly.
I will say, though, in the sub, he says a lot of really flowery passages, pretty phrases.
The Moonlight Knight?
But in the deep dub, like when he talks about love, or the moon shines brightest in the dark, or some stuff that is like, come on, give me a break. In the deep dub, where those lines are in the sub, he's often telling the scouts, good job, girls, or I always had faith in, like, he's very complimentary towards them. And I like that. Obviously, his phrases are good to distract the monster, but then at the end, he's complimenting the scouts and, good job, like,
positive reinforcement.
I never doubted. Yeah, exactly. It's nice. I wonder if it's also, since we know that those are his memories, I wonder he's trying to get in good with the scouts because he knows that if he's on the outs with any of the scouts, it's over. He has to be on good terms with all of them in order to continue to date Usagi. That's how it works. The two-parter episode, the final two-parter, which super tense, so much action. I loved it. It was so different from the two-parter season finale of the first season, because you have these tense moments, but they're very short. And then you have this section of, oh my god, another scout is dead.
Oh, yeah.
Even when Usagi is fighting Beryl, they're basically just throwing energy blasts at each other. But here, the scouts were dodging acid and busting into the building. And then there are the screams. Like, holy crap, some of the screams that... I can't remember the voice actor's name for Usagi. Her scream at the end of that first episode is horrific. It is so good. Like, spine-chilling. But very action-packed. I love it.
Yeah. No, I love that it ended on that cliffhanger, and when the Makai tree started speaking, I was like, oh my god, it's alive!
Yeah, and this episode is, it doesn't dive into that. First, we start out with a whole bit about Usagi and the girls going to their apartment because they miss school.
Yeah.
Usagi wants to make sure that they're okay. And I had it sort of listed as a maybe moon moment, but the more I thought about it, it's really just Usagi. Like, it's one of those instances where it's hard to gauge whether, similarly when we have to decide, is it a duty thing, or is it a moon moment thing, or a decent human being thing?
Yeah.
I think we also run into this situation where it's just an Usagi thing. Do you give her a moon moment for that? Because, I mean, it was the first episode of the second season where I talk about, I can't imagine Usagi just turning her back on Luna once she got her memories back. And leaving Artemis to the Cardian and not ever transforming again.
Right.
I can't imagine that of Usagi. And it's the same thing here. Usagi has sort of become warmer with Natsumi, and it's sort of hard to imagine that she wouldn't just do this herself. Yes, it's a nice thing to go visit someone when they're ill or you don't know what's wrong. But at the same time, it's also Usagi doing this, and of course she would do this. She's Usagi. I didn't count it as a moon moment. Kind of as a mini moment, and I'd be fine with that. But, because I think it is nice if you don't know what's happened to a friend or a coworker or schoolmate, just checking up on them is always a nice thing to make sure everything's okay. But I don't know if it's moon moment worthy.
Right. Because, again, I don't think because of the last episode, I don't think she would have gone over to their place to check up on them. Part of me is wondering if it was just sheer curiosity of why An didn't come to school the next day after being attacked by the cardigan. And I think some of it might have been curiosity in order to satiate, oh, where is she? Of course, there's also concern mixed with it. So I don't think I gave it a mini moment only because I feel like Usagi is the kind of person to do things not because she's that's not the right word to say it. She's driven more by curiosity than do-gooding. This instance, I do think she was being sincere and going to go check up on her. But I think that was the reason why that didn't make it into my mini moment or moon moment.
When Natsumi hands Usagi her bag back and basically tells her to get out, Usagi has this look on her face like she doesn't know how to deal with someone who just completely snubs her. And it's so fascinating because Usagi is very fun and carefree and open, and things don't really stick to her. And even when she and Mamoru would throw barbs at each other, she might cry a little bit, but she would always bounce back from it. Maybe serious things like we see in this season when Mamoru again does an incredibly dumb thing and cuts Usagi out of his life for incredibly dumb reasons because he's incredibly dumb.
Right.
The pain she feels from that, she keeps it. But when, she and Ray argue, it's like water off a duck's back. It means nothing. But when Natsumi tells her, you're being nosy or whatever, get out, and she just doesn't know how to handle someone who just is completely cut off from her. And I thought that was really interesting because everyone handles people a different way. You see, Mako is already, by the time they get there, Mako is not having any of it already.
Yeah.
And she is already just waiting for the moment because she does not like this girl whatsoever. And she is ready to just write Natsumi off. But Ami is still trying to be polite. Maybe she's not reaching out like Usagi is, but she's still trying to be polite. And Usagi is trying to, hey, you coming to school? Oh my gosh, it is this episode where she gets up before her alarm clock. Something that never happened.
Yeah.
And goes to make sure she gets to school on time. We all deal with people in different ways. And I could totally bring up a Miraculous Ladybug reference right here.
I'm ready for it.
Especially in regards to the Snow White episode. But the character that always lies, what is her name?
Oh, Layla.
Layla? That's what I thought, but it sounded weird. So, there's an episode where, obviously, Marinette sees that Layla is lying, and she's so mad, and she finally has proof, and she's going to call her on it, but Adrian stops her and says, yeah, I know she's lying, but this means a lot to her, so just let her have it. And, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't hurt us to let her keep up this charade. And that's exactly what happened in the Snow White episode. And I think it sort of applies in this episode too, because you never know where someone's coming from. And maybe they're lonely and they really want to be the center of the spotlight because maybe they'll make friends. Or maybe they just want to get out of their house because it's a terrible place with people yelling, or it's always cold because there's never money for the gas bill or whatever. So I think it's people handle people in different ways. And And it's interesting that in that moment you see that Usagi has never come across this before. She doesn't know how to handle Nasumi, so she just doubles down on being Usagi. And apparently that means waking up before her alarm. It would have been awesome if Luna sent out an alert on all of the sailor communicators being like, we have an emergency, Usagi's missing. Like, never considering that she would have got up early on her own. Honestly, not really sure where going with this, but I do think it's crazy that Usagi, one, doesn't tell... This tree literally attacks her when she opens the door. She neglects to tell her friends when she gets to school that a tree attacked her. It's like, Usagi, come on.
I feel like Usagi just plain forgot, honestly, that she got attacked by a tree. She just took the whole... oh, I'm just researching plants for funsies. And I think she just dismissed it as, oh, okay, that's totally normal.
An added detail would have been nice if when they were sitting there about to have lunch, if one of the girls had said something to Usagi about sleeping in class. If you're not careful, Miss Haruna will give you detention because you're sleeping in class. And then they find the thing in her hair, and it's like, it's been draining her energy the entire morning. That would have been nice added detail.
That would have been cool, yeah.
I'm going to try not to go on another rant. But the cats in this episode, they don't know anything, and yet they know so much stuff. And they refuse to tell the girls. They know about the Makai tree.
Yeah.
But they don't know... I feel like the information they impart is... like, I have in my notes... Cats know about the Makai tree? Question mark. And are wrong afterward. Because they are. They say that it's an energy-sucking tree that drains worlds or something like that. And that's not it at all. Yeah. So I'm really curious at how they heard about this. They would have had to have heard about this tree in the Silver Millennium. And so I guess it was just an urban legend, sort of, like a myth, like, oh, there's that.
I feel like the cats just have selective information, or they hear something and they delve into that tiny thing, and then they just forget about everything else. So they're just, oh, it's an energy-sucking tree. Oh, it's what else has it done that sucks energy? Never thinking to look up to see if it's actually sucking energy or if it's actually doing what the Makai tree has been doing. So yeah, it's so frustrating too, because why don't you just tell the girls? It'd be so much easier on you,
So you still have a moon moment, right?
I do.
Assuming it comes in this last episode?
Yes, it does.
Let's go,
Does
baby.
yours?
No, my moon moment was the girls not calling.
Oh, I thought you had two.
I had that, and then I had my potential moon moment, like mini moon moment or whatever, was Usagi kind of being Usagi. Let's go. Last episode.
Yes.
Cliffhanger. Yes. We go into it. What's your moon moment?
So my moon moment is right when the Makai tree... So, leading up to this moment, we are on this journey with these two alien lovers, these two alien people, that they don't really know what love is, and throughout this whole entire arc, or at least this episode, that they've been trying to learn what love is and how to understand what consists of love. And they finally kind of realize that warm, glowy sensation that they've been both describing. First when Usagi comes to check up on them, and then again when Mamoru comes to check up on Natsume. And they're like, oh, what is this warm feeling? What is this? I've never felt this way before. And they learn that this is love. This is how it feels like to be cared for by someone. And so this is a whole new thing for them. And when the Makai tree is attacking Sailormoon and Mamoru and everyone else, and it goes to attack Ai, and An steps in front of the tree and basically gives her life in order to save Ale. This is after she just learned what love is. She just learned what it means to care for someone. She just learned what it means to sincerely care about a person that isn't yourself. And for me, I thought that was a moon moment because all of this information is very overwhelming, especially if you didn't know any of this priorhand. She's also learning that this tree gave birth to her, and that this tree isn't just an energy source, but also the source of their legacy and all their heritage and where they come from. And the fact that she goes in that moment without hesitation to make sure that Ale is okay and that he lives, gives up her life for him, I thought that was a moon moment.
Here's my problem with that.
Okay.
I feel like An would have done that anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like if Ale was in trouble and was, about to get stabbed, I think An would have thrown herself in front of it anyway. I don't think it was her realization of this is what love really is that caused her to do that, because we do see in previous episodes, there's one where Ale pulls on back. They're facing the scouts, and it has to be one of the girls' attacks, I think. He grabs on and teleports them away from one of the girls' attacks. And so I feel like they both have shown that they do care about each other. I feel like that's never in question throughout. It's just how they show it to each other, and how to them their view of love is more the darker side of love, with jealousy and that sort of thing, not caring about the other's pursuits that much. Ale said he was gathering energy when he ruined the play, but he also said, I wanted to play the prince. So he was, again, jealous for that, but also didn't really care that it was something that she really wanted to do. So I think their idea of love, more of the negative traits of love, and yet we still see moments where when An collapses, he, takes her straight to get energy, or he pulls her out of the way. And with An, I think it's sort of the same thing, where we may not have a specific example of it, but I think she wouldn't just let him get hit with a sailor attack, If she could prevent it, then she's going to. So,
yeah.
I feel like it has all the makings of a moon moment, but I feel like An would have done that anyway. I don't think it has to do with her epiphany of love.
Mm-hmm. To me, I thought that she would do it. I didn't think she would do it to the extent that she did. I can see her going to, if she had the chance to, she would teleport him out. And I was surprised that she didn't, I guess, and that she instead gave her life instead of trying to find a different way around it. Yeah, I was surprised that she didn't teleport him out of the situation. For me, it became something more of a selfless act, because there was no security in that she would survive, but she did it anyway. Whereas the other times, you teleport out of it, both of you are okay. Or An collapses and Ale brings on to the Makai tree. There's no collateral damage to yourself. And I think what resonated with me with An jumping in front of Ale and giving her life for Ale was that it was done without a second's hesitation. That, oh no, I could die. But she does it anyway.
I think you got me a little bit on board when you said it as a selfless act, because I think it also plays into... Actually, I'm not sure if it plays into this, but the Makai tree, when Ale is holding An's body and says, I'll join you soon, the tree says, you finally understand. I think from the tree's perspective, I keep gendering the tree but I think they do love each other. They don't know how to love each other in a good way. I think by them doing this is what makes the tree realize that, they do really love each other. Because I could see from the Makai tree's perspective, obviously she's seen them grow up, but she's also probably seen them, like, oh, they say they love each other, but they bicker and they get jealous, and she doesn't really see it. But once On is selfless like that, and then when Ale just sort of gives up, I think that is the sign that the Makai tree needs. It's also interesting because this is like a family dispute basically between the tree and On and Ale, which, by the way, I realized On and Ale are both green, and they're plant children, so of course they're green. They have chlorophyll in their skin.
Oh.
And they don't eat, they just absorb energy like the sun.
Oh my god, they're plant children.
I think you got me a little bit more on board with the selfless act argument, that On doesn't know what's going to happen. She doesn't know if she's going to survive or if she's going to die, but she's made this choice to do that. So I think I'm more on board with it as a moon moment and just that, rather than saying it's because she realized what love is and then went to sacrifice herself. I think I'm more on board with it that way.
So is this a moon moment? Drum roll.
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess we could also ask the audience, too.
Yeah, this might be one that we have to ask the audience, because I also feel like it's one of those instances where it's almost too easy to give it a moon moment. She's sacrificing her life for him. It's low-hanging fruit. Of course, you're going to get a moon moment from it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to just... Because then we could give Usagi moon moments, like, all the time.
Yeah, we could give her so many moon moments.
So...
Would this be a potential mini moon moment?
I think I would feel comfortable giving it a mini moon moment. Because even in that episode, they're still arguing back and forth between, oh, Makai Tree, take Usagi's energy. No, take Mamoru's energy. Because it's also, I think it's a very fascinating parallel, because that scene comes directly after Mamoru and Usagi protect each other. Because Usagi takes a bunch of blasts for Mamoru, and then he takes a couple blasts for her. And again, I wonder if On is protecting Ale that way because she sees them. She's like, oh, I mean, I don't think it's this cynical. I don't think it's, oh, well, they love each other, and they protected each other like that. So I love Ale, I'm going to protect him like that. As sort of more of a cerebral thing, I guess. Like, not like a feeling thing, like, oh my god, I don't want Ale to die, so I need to stop this. Like, obviously my power isn't enough to stop the Makai Tree, so I'm just gonna plant myself. Oh!
Hey!
I'm just gonna, plant my feet, and, what happens, but as long as he's okay, that's what matters. Yeah, this might be one we throw to the audience, because I want to give it to you, but I think it's too easy to give it to you. I'm trying to think. Anything else from this episode? Well, okay, I did have a couple things. You have to give a shout out to Mako, who high kicks the escape hatch of an elevator. Mako is tall, but holy crap. I could just watch that in GIF form for so long. It's so satisfying to watch.
Oh, she's so cool.
And then I have apartment building frowny face, because that apartment building is effed up.
Oh, yeah.
With their other battles, there usually isn't any kind of property damage. Can you imagine you lived in that apartment building and you're just... Oh
my god, I'd be so mad.
So, evening, you made yourself a Hot Pocket, you're sitting down to watch your favorite anime, and then all of a sudden, plant tendrils just come shooting through your apartment, and you're trapped, and you don't know what's going on.
Your Hot Pocket is sitting out in the cold. Whatever you're watching your anime from is just sideways, cracked. Doesn't work anymore.
Oh my gosh. How are do you think they're going to explain this away as mechanical issues?
I wouldn't put it past the building manager to be like, oh no,
Earthquake.
It was a pipe that burst.
Yeah.
Oh, I did say for this, I made a note of, wow, why can't I find someone who cares for me so much that they make another person to fight for me?
Yeah, that is so fascinating because, okay, let's rewind to the very first episode. No one has their memories except for the cats who didn't go along on their Arctic adventure. Usagi gets her memories back, and then the very next episode, Usagi says, "Why can't you give Mamoru his memories back?" Luna never answers, I don't think.
Oh.
Instead, she and Artemis say that they're thinking of bringing back Rei and Ami's memories to help Usagi, which is kind of crappy that they're bringing Rei and Ami back and not, like, all of the girls. I mean, the girls aren't like this. There wouldn't be any tension of, oh, well, they get to stay normal girls. But it's so weird that they would only want to bring back Rei and Ami for the time being. Anyway, but eventually all the girls come back via Luna's mind powers, and it never comes up again why Luna can't just give Mamoru his memories back. Is it because he wasn't part of the Moon Kingdom? He's technically of Earth, so she can't do anything with his memories? Does she just not want to? She thinks Usagi gets distracted enough as it is. She doesn't need to bring his memories back. And Usagi does try to spark them on her own because she does a little drawing and she tells them stories.
Right.
I did have a theory because he says something like, in the Deke dub, the Moonlight Knight says that he is basically the soul that is dedicated to fighting the Negaverse, aka the Dark Kingdom. And in the sub, he says that his memories were so strong, the need to protect Sailormoon, that's who he is. So, I wonder if Mamoru, again, Mamoru's kind of a jerk, but once he gets his memories back, he's not really a jerk anymore. Do you think Mamoru just doesn't have a soul? But his memories, like his past life, like we talked about him potentially sort of becoming possessed by Endymion. Right. Do you think it's Endymion's soul that because it's making him, nicer and he loves Usagi now?
Oh, wait, he was discovered because he was in a car crash, wasn't he? Because that's how he lost his parents. Mm-hmm. What if he actually died with his parents, but because his body was just young and just available for the taking, and Endymion's soul just took over that body? What if that was like the moment he was no longer Mamoru, but Endymion? You're
kind of blowing my mind right now because it does fit. Because Endymion just sort of chill in his body. Because Mamoru is, as far as we can tell, just a normal dude until Sailormoon awakens. And that's the first time that Tuxedo Common appears. And as we've established, as we have theorized, Tuxedo Common is basically Prince Endymion.
Right, yeah.
And so, I could totally see that. The only wrinkle would be that you'd have to apply it to the other characters in the same way. We have sort of, I think, touched on this before. I may have brought it up as maybe something I heard on a different podcast, but the idea that Usagi and Princess Serenity are two different people. And because it's kind of so crazy to think of 14-year-old clumsy crybaby Usagi in the future becomes Queen of Crystal Tokyo, it's sort of because she is slowly becoming subsumed by Princess Serenity. So if we were to say that Mamoru did have like a Mamoru soul, but also Prince Endymion's soul, but lost the Mamoru bit when he died, then we'd also have to apply that to the other reincarnated characters. Like, there's Rei's soul, and then there's also Sailor Mars from the previous life's soul. But no, I like the idea of it playing into maybe the reason Tuxedo Common was able to take over without him knowing is because he already lost all of his memories once. That gap maybe allowed Endymion to sort of take hold of him.
Mm.
So when Endymion, there's like that red flag of, oh my god, Sailormoon, who he knows is the Moon Princess.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, you need to grab a rose and transform because we gotta make sure she lives past one episode. I don't know. I really like that idea that it has something to do with the car crash. That's why.
Mm.
But then also, I guess going back to the Moonlight Night, the idea that the reason he's such a jerk is because his soul is all tied up with the Endymion, like, memories and everything.
Mm-hmm.
When he doesn't remember that, he's a jerk. But when he does, he is...
Sweet.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
If you want to say that.
Yeah, I mean, sweet, quote unquote.
Yeah. So I don't know, that's really interesting. I would love to hear if any listeners have thoughts on this. If you have additions to this theory that we have sort of half-baked. That was a thing that I did not think we were going to get into at the very end.
Not just a Moon Moment podcast, but also Moon Conspiracy podcast.
Yeah. Did we land on the moon? We don't know. I think that might do it for our podcast episode. So our next episode will cover episodes 60 through 63. Gilsey's already watched episode 60, so does not have to do that.
Sorry for the spoiler. Slight spoiler.
But be sure to check out our social media on Twitter and Instagram at Moon Moment Pod. And check out our website, Moon Moment Podcast, because there you'll find show notes about everything we talked about, as well as transcripts for every episode. So when I start to talk fast and you don't know what I'm saying, or when I have to lower Gilsey's volume because she's so loud, and you're not quite sure, I've maybe lowered it too much and you're not sure what she's saying, we have transcripts. Also, Gilsey leaves very funny comments on the transcripts that she does. So that's always a fun little Easter egg surprise for anyone who actually reads them.
I just have a lot of fun with them, which is why they take me so long
No,
to
I
do.
like your comments. I've tried to start adding some of my own in there.
But yes, check it out. Let us know what your Moon Moment musings are. We would love to hear from you, please. And maybe you might just get a shout out. If you would like to support the podcast, please rate, review, share, and subscribe. It helps Moon Moment stay afloat amidst the vast ocean of podcasts. I'm Gilsey.
I'm Drusilla.
Jupiter, come back. Oh my god, that sucked. I tried. It sounded a lot smoother in my head, guys. But until next time, we'll catch you, Moon. Bye.
Bye.